Hey everyone, before we get into the video, just a quick shout out to my friend Matthew Rhodes. He's got his book out, Virtual Requiem. You can buy it from Amazon. Link is in the description below. Go check it out. Right, on with the video. Hey legends, welcome back to another video. As you can see, there's no camera today. It is absolutely baking in London today. I just can't do it. And I'm pretty sure none of you want to see me with my top off. I mean, I get it. You guys have you guys got a stick for Alex, but if you see me, it's going to be like, Rich Tech USA, and I don't think anyone wants to be scarred for life. I do actually value you as viewers, so I'm not going to scar you in that way for life. So we're going to do this in a different way today because I did want to get this video out, and it doesn't look like London is going to get any cooler over the next few days. I'm hoping it is because it is bad. But right. So we're going to get into this video now, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. And with that, off we go.
What's up, everybody? DocDark1985. There's levels to this. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but we got to have this conversation.
All right, we're going to have this conversation. Let's do it. Because I haven't watched this yet, so this is first time. Let's do it.
Everyone's losing their goddamn minds right now. What am I missing? What happened to Xbox or or Microsoft Gaming or Game Pass in the last few days, last few weeks that I'm not seeing, that everyone is acting as if now Xbox is dead, as if Xbox is done?
I mean, he's got a point there. If you look at like Pentiment when it went over to PlayStation, it was Microsoft Gaming. So it looks like when it comes to games going over to other platforms, they are using the Microsoft Gaming slogan rather than the Xbox Gaming. And if we're looking at, Flight Simulator, for example, it's Microsoft Gaming. I mean, it's been a part of Microsoft forever, since before Xbox even came into the picture. So I kind of see where he's coming with this. I mean, I get you've got the two old cronies who don't work there anymore, who wanted 15 minutes of clout to actually give an IGN interview and start spouting a whole bunch of nonsense and a bunch of bullshit to whoever it was I think it was Ryan that they were talking to. I can't remember the article's full right now. But, they wanted their 15 minutes of fame to try and come in and stick another knife into Xbox because that is what people do, right? That is the easiest way to get fame. That is the easiest way to get your name out there, is to attack $1 trillion company. They know this, and that's clearly the reason why they said what they did. But anyway, let's see what he's going to say.
Tangle Studios? Really? Tangle Studios is what got you like this? Them closing?
I mean, let's be realistic. No one even talked about Tango Studios for the past year. All I heard about Tango Studios was PlayStation fans who are now crying that Tango is gone. I'm doing my part in downvoting this game on Xbox. I'm doing my part in, review bombing this game on Metacritic. I'm doing my part in review bombing this game on Steam. Well, good job. You've done your part in getting the studio closed. Well done. Now go look in the mirror, look at yourself, and make sure you're happy with what you did, because you are part of the problem and part of the reason why this happened. It all impacted the final decision. Well done.
Down Tango, Redfall, that's what got you like this. Bro, it's crazy the way people are running with this. Yes, this is doom and gloom at its highest. Call of Duty.
Hey, Xbox could chip a nail and it is doom and gloom, and it is the end of the world. The apocalypse is upon us. It's the end of times. Literally, they could do anything and it will be translated to the end of times. Xbox is dead. It's over for Xbox. Literally anything could happen in the slightest negative connotation, and that will be the narrative that everyone goes with. It's crazy. But EA closes studios, Sony closes studios, Square Enix closes studios, Embracer closed tons of studios. But guess what? Who gave a shit? I mean, just recently you had that dude that came out who was saying like, oh, I've been speaking to a lot of developers and they're all worried about their safety. But when all of these other publishers and studios and platforms were closing studios, They were like, celebrate good times, come on, yeah, baby, let's go. But as soon as this Xbox, oh my God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do, man? I don't know. I mean, it's just fake outrage, right? It's just fake outrage.
Now, supposedly, some janitor out there said it's not coming day and date to Game
That's why I like it. I like it, Doc. I like it. Jetta, I like it.
Pass. Who said this? That's what I want to know. Who said Call of Duty is not coming to Game Pass? Game Pass is not sustainable. That's what they're saying again. But listen. The one thing about me that you cannot deny if you've watched me for even a drop of a second is that I talk from the player's perspective, from the gamer's perspective. You can call me a you can say that I'm not a gamer all you want, but when I speak from the gamer's perspective. So let me tell you something.
I'm a little different. I do speak from the player's perspective, but I also look at it realistically from a business perspective as well to see, because at the end of the day, no matter how much I want it from a player's perspective, if it's not viable from a business point, it's not going to happen to the players, right? So I like to cover both sides, but that's me personally.
Tell you the truth. You ready? You ready for this? Sit down. You ready? I don't give a damn if Game Pass is sustainable or profitable.
I mean, unless you got shares, you shouldn't anyway. The worst that's going to happen is that Game Pass is going to close down. That's the worst case scenario. Unless you've got shares, in which case, sign me up. And I'll say whatever you like if it's going to bring me the big bucks. But if you don't have shares, and I don't have shares, and I'm guessing he won't have shares, maybe he does. We're about to find out. But unless you have shares, you absolutely shouldn't care. It's not your problem to make it sustainable. It's Microsoft's responsibility to make it sustainable, to make it profitable, and it's their responsibility to deliver you a product that you're willing to pay for. At the end of the day, it's a transaction.
What? Why do I care if Microsoft is making money or losing money off of Game Pass? I care about my experience with Game Pass.
Let's go.
I'm going to keep using Game Pass until Game Pass is no more. And when Game Pass is no more, guess what? I'll figure out something else to use. The same way that when Blockbuster was around and I had to deal with Blockbuster, I used them till they went out of business and then I went somewhere else. Are you a freaking idiot? I don't have stock in Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't pay me.
Let's go. Oh, man. Oh, this is brilliant. I even called that out. That's great. That's brilliant. Oh man, this is brilliant. And we're only 2 minutes in, and there's still another 10 minutes. Let's go.
If they did pay me, my videos would be way different. Trust me. Oh boy, my videos would be straight different. Hey yo, Phil, hit me up, dog. I'll spin this whichever way you want me to spin it, dog.
No way. No way. How in sync are we? How in sync are we? No way.
Oh, hit me up. Send some money my way. Out your damn mind like I care if Game Pass is sustainable. You guys are idiots. Are you a gamer or are you a bean counter? Now you're a bean counter. And then I proved in my last video. I proved it in my last video, right? If Call of Duty is making a lot of money for them, right? And they still want to make profit because it's a business. It would make sense for them to cut losses or cut places where they're not making the profit that they feel that they need to make, right? And again, I hate speaking that way because that doesn't benefit me at all. But you're not going to sit here and pretend like you really cared about Tango Studios when I saw the percentage of people that beat that game.
Exactly what I've been saying. It didn't, no one, they may have had all those millions of people playing it on Game Pass, but no one actually bought it on Xbox. And even if we discount Xbox sales, PC, it didn't sell either. But the number of people who've actually completed Hi-Fi Rush is so minuscule, it's not even worth talking about. It just, for all intents and purposes, it was a media awards winning game, but it wasn't a player's game. The players just didn't appreciate it. And as you can see on PlayStation, they didn't appreciate it. On PC, they didn't appreciate it. It is what it is. And even Evil Within, they are niche games. They did not move the needle like, say, Resident Evil 8, 7. They just didn't move the needle. They were good games in their own right, but they didn't move the needle. So, and then we've even got games like Ghostwire Tokyo, right? That Do I need to say more about that game? I mean, I actually liked the game, but it wasn't well received. It just wasn't picked up very well. At the end of the day, it is what it is. That's like 3 franchises that just weren't firing on all cylinders that they did back to back. There has to be a point, really. Anyway, let's see what he has to say.
You're not gonna do it, bro. You're just not gonna do it. But here's the problem, right? Because again, you guys speak out of both sides of your mouth, and I really hate it, bro. I hate it because it's very deceitful. Here's the deal. The biggest thing about Game Pass that people said was that because Game Pass was going to be unsustainable and unprofitable, Doc, you should care because that means they're going to have to put bad games into Game Pass. And when they put bad games into Game Pass, that's going to directly affect your experience, right? That's what you guys used to say. So if Game Pass creates bad games...
I just want to say, I've never, ever, 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 ever heard that saying. But if people are saying that, that's some dumb thing to say. There will be fillers in Game Pass. That is literally the point of it. You get about 4 to 6 big games throughout the year at max, minimum 4, max 6, and then the rest of the months are filled in with fillers, while those 4 to 6 drop throughout the year. And if it's 1 a quarter, you'll have 4 big games, and then you'll have about 2 fillers per month. So that's just that's the sustainable model that you want.
Then you can't cheer Hi-Fi Rush. You can't say Game Pass makes bad games and then say that Hi-Fi Rush is a good game. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. You can't say Game Pass is for bad games and then we have games like Lies of P. I'm using a game that's not an Xbox game because I know how biased you are. If I use an Xbox game, you're going to say it's bad regardless. If I say Forza Horizon 5, some people are going to say that wasn't a good game. Lies.
Forza Horizon 5 is a phenomenal game. If you like racing games, definitely go check that game out. It is amazing. Hands down. Really, really good game. So definitely go check it out. And I just want to take this opportunity to say that, I'm going to have a link to the actual video in the description below. Please go leave a like and definitely give Doc a follow if you're enjoying his content as well, because I am reacting to it. So I'd appreciate it if you did that. And in fact, if you could, even if you, after you've watched this video, you go over there, just let the video run its course and give him the full duration of the view. That would be awesome. Right, on with the video.
Lies. If I say Starfield was not a good game, lies. Lies. You might not think Starfield was the savior of Xbox, but you can't say Starfield was a bad game. If you're saying Starfield was a bad game, that's disingenuous. You know that. You know that. Because then you got to go look at all the scores and compare it to things that you call great. And it's equal. I'm just saying, right? So you can't say that Game Pass is the reason why we have bad games, right? And then also say there's good games in Game Pass. It doesn't make sense. So if Game Pass is unsustainable, which again doesn't matter, right? And you know and I know that their goal is to get Game Pass to be sustainable, right? To get people more to Game Pass. Well, let me ask you that. Do you agree that that's what Microsoft wants? More people in the subscription service? If they want more people in the subscription...
Clearly, Microsoft want more people on the service. They want Game Pass to be 50, 60, 70 million. So we can pretty much fund the whole studio. And be, so at that point, Microsoft, Xbox, whatever you want to call it. And at that point, Xbox as a division becomes self-sustained. Pure and simple. They can make anything they want with the studios they want, even expand, really, to further more studios and still be sustainable. That is the end goal, while it still delivers profit.
Subscription service, why would they not put Call of Duty day and date on Game Pass? Let me help you out. The majority of Call of Duty players, you can look it up if you want, speak facts, are on mobile. The large majority of Call of Duty players are on mobile. You could say mobile doesn't matter, but here's a problem with a lot of you idiots. You didn't realize that the Activision, Blizzard, King deal, whatever, Microsoft cared more about mobile than they did anything else.
That's 100% true. The whole acquisition was purchased on the King. And even when Jim actually proposed that they, sell off Call of Duty at $70 billion, Phil said no. Now, if Bobby Kotick offered to sell King as an individual company, Microsoft would have bought King and left Activision Blizzard. But it was a package deal. And at that point, you're not going to let Call of Duty go.
Yeah, you don't have. You idiots don't have to believe me. It doesn't matter. Listen to me. The majority of Call of Duty players are on mobile. This is
The only thing I'll say is that the mobile version of the game is, well, at the time was different, and they were making about 10 million. They were making $7 million a day, and this was some time ago. I'm expecting now it's about 10 to 12 million a day. It's crazy how much money that game makes. It makes bank. It makes bank. But it's got a lot of players. But can you actually now crossplay between mobile? I know Warzone you can, but can you do it with like the standard multiplayer? I don't think you can, but if you can, then he's bang on the money. But then again, you got the campaign as well, but no one cares about the campaign except me.
This is a fact, okay? The second biggest demographic, I think, is like PC, okay? The third biggest is PlayStation, right? And then the last demographic of Call of Duty gamers is like something like 8% or something, 7 or 8% are on Xbox. So let's figure this out. Let's talk.
I mean, if that is true, those figures that he's saying, then at this point, Microsoft can actually sacrifice those 8%. I don't think it would hurt the bottom line that much if it actually gets more people subscribing to Game Pass. And then if they start getting more people over from PlayStation, potentially, to Xbox for Call of Duty, because that's going to be the best place to play it. And it's going to be the, if they use their marketing correctly, play the beta here first, best place to play Call of Duty. They've got the whole marketing field to themselves now. The games will be on parity, but it doesn't matter. The marketing is marketing and they can do what they like. So in that regard, if they bring them over, sure, the game is $70, but if these people decide not to buy the game and then decide that they're going to sign up to a year's worth of Game Pass and at that point turn around and try other games as well, that's a win-win situation for Microsoft because now they've got more money from that person. And let's be realistic here. Even if the games are on Game Pass, if the game is on Game Pass, I mean, it is going to be on Game Pass because Cerebon said it is. The reality is, microtransactions is the winner here, right? That is where the money comes from. It's not, I mean, the purchase price of the game is going to make money. Yes, it is. But the majority of the money that it's going to make is going to come from the battle passes, the skins, the cosmetic weapon skins, all these little accessories, the reticules, the red dots, and all of that shit that come from Call of Duty, the supply boxes and stuff. That is where the majority of the big money is going to come from. The game sales itself will have a chunk of income, but in terms of microtransactions, that's going to triple, quadruple, or even 5 times or more the amount of money that the box product is going to sell. And when I say box product, I mean like digital box. It doesn't matter. So even if they're losing the 8%, I don't think it matters. But let's see where he's going with this anyway, because that's my mentality of thinking about this. But let's see where he's going with this.
Talk through this logically, right? If you're an Xbox gamer, right, and you're part of the 8% that plays Call of Duty, let's say you all 8% of them are subscribed to Game Pass. Okay, let's say all 8. I'm worst case scenario. Let's say all 8% decide that because they're Game Pass subscribers, they're no longer going to buy Call of Duty. Right? You and I both know there are Game Pass gamers that still buy games. We do know that,
I
right?
know loads of people.
But let's just say none of them. Every single person that has an Xbox console does not buy Call of Duty. They all play it on Game Pass. Let's just say that's the situation. Okay? They don't buy the game. They play it on Game Pass. Okay, fair enough. Right? That's 8% of the revenue that's lost. Now, let's go to the PlayStation side. 15%, something like that. 15% of PlayStation gamers. Let's say those 15% of PlayStation gamers, right? There's no reason for them to stop buying it on PlayStation. If they're going to switch over, stay with me now, if they're going to switch over to play it on Xbox and they're not going to buy it, they would go ahead and subscribe to Game Pass now, right?
There's also something else that he may mention in a minute, but I don't think he is because I think he glossed over it. Microsoft only made 20% when it came to this game previously. On PlayStation, they're making 70%. So sure, the people on Xbox aren't buying it. So that's 100% lost there. But they're making 50% extra from PlayStation for those that are buying it now on PlayStation, because Sony get their 30%. Well, it's 40%, I guess. They're making, because it's 70%. They make PlayStation now makes 30%. They make 70. So that 70% isn't going to Activision now. It's actually coming to Microsoft. So even though the Xbox players might be playing it on Game Pass and they're paying their full year subscription for it, that's kind of being subsidized this way through the other channel in a really, mental gymnastics way. It's kind of being subsidized in a little bit.
Stay with me now. So now you got someone that's subscribed to Game Pass, yes, for $10. But if you're a Call of Duty player, I doubt you're just going to play the game for pay for $10 1 month and then unsubscribe.
The $10 one doesn't allow you to play it online. You're either going to get the $60 version for the year, and that doesn't include Game Pass, so it's not going to have Call of Duty. So you're going to have to go for the $17 one for Ultimate. I think it does have day and date, but you don't have live on the Xbox Game Pass console. So I just thought I'd make that distinction. Game Pass PC, it doesn't need the live, obviously.
I highly doubt that if you're a Call of Duty player, you're going to keep playing that game, right? So now instead of you paying $70 to PlayStation, right? And then Microsoft gets its little cut, you are now subscribed to Game Pass, and for the entire years, I'm using the lowest subscription, $10 a month, right? You're paying Microsoft $120. But now you're in the Microsoft ecosystem. Stay with me now. I know some of you are slow. Stay with me now, right?
I'm with you, buddy.
Okay,
so
now let's say if you do convert. Now, if you don't convert any PlayStation game, let's say nobody converts, nothing changes on PlayStation side. You still got 15% of that revenue from there. 15% of revenue that you weren't getting before because you didn't own Activision duty. All right? Activision.
He is covering it. Good job. Good job. Good job. He is covering, because that's 15% of 70% extra that's now coming to Microsoft that wouldn't have been there in the first place.
Blizzard. Now, PC side, right? The PC side, let's say some people that are playing on PC also decide that, you know what? I got Game Pass, right? So I'm not going to go ahead and buy Call of Duty. Okay? They're not buying Call of Duty. They're subscribed to Game Pass, right? They're going to play it that way. Same thing. Instead of a $70 one-time payment, now they're continuously paying Xbox, and they still got them in the ecosystem. Those people that aren't subscribed to Game Pass, though, will buy Call of Duty flat out. The same way that you can look at Steam numbers to see how many people are playing Halo. Now, here's the bigger catch out of all of this, okay? Here's the biggest catch out of all of this.
Okay, I'm good.
You and I both know, when it comes to Call of Duty, the majority of the money made is not made on the game sales itself.
Let's go!
It's made what happens after you sell the game with the microtransactions. You and I both know this. And this is what drives me crazy with the people that make YouTube videos that are bean counters, that don't talk about playing video games. They know this as well. They know that microtransactions are the biggest things. So if you could put a game that's going to effectively possibly have more people buy into the microtransactions, why would you not do that?
Oh my God. I can't believe how in sync we are.
So
I cannot believe how in sync we are. This is insane. I need to get this guy on my show before I actually have to take a break while I move. Man, I cannot believe how in sync we are.
So that's what drives me crazy. When you look at Xbox, the reality is they don't care about the hardware. That is the reality. But then you're also going to try to say that they don't care about Xbox, the Game Pass version, right? And what's really funny to me is when I told people I switched over to PC, right? And I told them that I'm playing on a Microsoft system, on a Windows system, right? And that Microsoft owns Xbox. People laughed at me and made fun of me. But now you don't like the term Microsoft Gaming. It's always been Microsoft Gaming. It's always been under Microsoft. Like what? Like how bro,
pretty much what I said at the start of the video, though I do disagree with him saying Microsoft doesn't care about the hardware. They do. And I just want to let him cook a little bit more before I interject into that, because there's a reason. But let's see where he's going with this, because I want to see him cook a little more, because he could come up with the goods that I'm thinking.
It drives me crazy because they pretend to be smart. It's always been under Microsoft. The only people this Xbox generation that are getting screwed are the Series X owners. That is it. Because we constantly keep getting lied as to what this box can and cannot do. And then we have idiots out there that try to support, like, well, that box can't do it. Why would you expect?
Well, the box can do it. And as we found out, PlayStation, we've known this for a while. PlayStation is the primary console that developers cater for because it's the favored platform. It's number one in the market. It's got the biggest user base in terms of player base for games on on a platform, not on an ecosystem, but on a platform. So because of that, that is the catered for platform, what it's built on. And, as Digital Foundry have said, the actual PS5 is pretty much RDNA 1 to 1.5. It's not really 2.0, so it's missing those features that actually would allow the Series X to propel. And that is part of the reason why we're seeing, the Series X not propelling, because Sony has a clause in their contracts that basically say that the Xbox version cannot perform better than the PlayStation version. And, in the 360 days, Xbox had the exact same clause reversed with the PS3. So, I really hate that clause. I wish they just abolished that clause entirely and let the machines battle it out to their strengths. Otherwise, there's no point in having one machine stronger than the other. But when it comes to these games, the market leader, in this case is PlayStation, dictates the contract. And if that parity clause is there, the Xbox version will be watered down, hampered down, and, not utilizing its strengths. So there's that.
Expect it to work like a PC. It can't do it. And then 6 months later, there's patches. Redfall's going to get a patch.
It did get a patch.
Redfall already got a patch. Hellblade's gonna get a patch. Hellblade 2 will get a patch on the Xbox Series X. Mark my words.
I mean, considering Starfield has got a patch, now 6 months later, Hellblade 2 will get a patch. But the reason why this is happening, and this is my personal opinion, right? It's not because the X they can't do it on the Series X. They obviously can, but they can't afford to delay these games any longer because they need to put games out at a consistent rate onto Game Pass. If they don't start releasing games on Game Pass that are first party, it loses its value. It loses its charm. It loses its selling point. Its selling point is our games are day and date, day one. But if you don't have any day and date games that are coming out for a whole year, it kind of loses its value and people will unsubscribe. Once people unsubscribe, it's difficult to get them back on. Not impossible, but it's a little more difficult. What you want to do with those that are subscribed is keep them on the service. And that's why having a cadence of releases, like I've been saying for a while, is really important. But this is a double-edged sword, as certain games can be pushed out a little early just to make sure that the catalog is filling up with games. And at times that has caused problems, but in my opinion, that is why these games are being pushed out. I think if they gave Ninja Theory another 6 months, the game would be 60 FPS. But as soon as the game comes out, you'll see that they'll be working on that 60 FPS. 3 to 6 months down the line, we're going to get that patch. But they just need that extra time in order to get it to that point. But because of the, we've had from January to May, we're outside of Power World. Power World isn't even a first-party game. We've had Persona 3 Reload. That's not a first-party game. But what I'm saying, there's been no first party to fill up that first, 4 or 5 months. So Hellblade has to land in order to keep the value of Game Pass going. But that's the reason, in my opinion, why this is happening. They're having to push it. Now, obviously, you could attribute this to many things. The actual management of the studios, the management of the project itself, just not hitting targets. I mean, there's a lot of variables. Or maybe they're just running out of time. Or the investors need to push it out so they can make some money back before they can reinvest for more development work. It could be anything. I mean, when Anthem launched, it only launched in the state it did because the investors said, we are not giving you any more money until you release this broken game. We get our money and then we will reinvest some of that money back into your game. Otherwise, we are pulling the plug. And so EA had to release that game in that state that it launched in because the investors basically said, we're done. So, like I said, there's multiple reasons why this could happen, why it could be releasing early. And even if Game Pass wasn't involved, as we saw with Anthem, games can still be pushed early. We saw this with Cyberpunk as well. We've seen this with other games where they were just pushed out too early and, you know, there were severe consequences. So I'm not blaming Game Pass here. I'm just saying that is part of the reason as to why certain games are being pushed out at times. But there are a plethora of reasons as to why this could happen. But, it's not always the case where they are not happy with the console or they're not supporting the console. It's bigger than the whole. That discussion is way bigger.
You know it's going to get a patch. And then you're going to feel stupid months from now. But for the Xbox Series X players, they're going to go ahead and have them play it at 30 frames and tell them that they want to have that cinematic experience. And then me, with a freaking an $800 PC, I'm going to play that game at well above 30 frames.
But it's not going to look as nice. And I think that's the key thing here. People are prepared to play the game at 30 if it looks phenomenal, but not prepared to play it at, say, 40 if it looks terrible. So it's a give and take.
I guarantee it. But you know what? Xbox is dying, right? Everything is doom and gloom, right? Bro,
the end is upon us,
you
man.
guys are out of your minds. Either Microsoft and Xbox care about Game Pass or they don't.
They do.
We already know that they don't care about the hardware, and it's not because of rumors, not because of agendas, because they've proven it multiple times.
I disagree.
Commercials saying no hardware needed. Like, what more do you need, right? Proof that nothing is optimized for the Series X. Nothing is.
Well, at the end of the day, Game Pass is the focus. But in order to sell Game Pass, you kind of need to sell the consoles. And I think they're starting to realize that now, that there's a correlation between selling consoles and selling Game Pass. It's easier to sell Game Pass with a console than it is without one. And no matter how much Microsoft want to chime and whatever, saying you don't know a console needed, it's still more difficult to sell Game Pass on its own as a subscription to a TV than it is to a console that you pay $500 for and then pay even more money to get Game Pass. It's just always been the way. If you've got a console, you are going to want to play online. And part of that is Game Pass Ultimate because it just gives you so much value. So in that regard, they do care for the console. And I think you're going to see a bigger push for the console towards like the end of this generation and the next generation. I think you're going to see a much bigger push.
Is optimized for the Series X. Everything's optimized for more games optimized for the PS5 than the Series X, right? And that's been since the beginning of this generation, right? They're not making their own developers use the power of the Series X until later on. But these are all facts, right? So what has changed in the last week that now the entire Xbox is done? 4 studios closing?
Nah, what happened was Phil Spencer broke his fingernail. It chipped it a little bit, and that was the sign of the second coming of Ragnarok, the second coming of like the end of times. Apparently, a zombie apocalypse is about to erupt somewhere, and it's gonna spread the T virus around globally. And this is all from just a chipped nail. Can you imagine if he actually splintered the nail? Good lord, would
really? 4 studios closing? That's what has changed?
And it hasn't. It's not 4 studios closing, right? I get this. This bugs me. So Roundhouse, sure, the studio technically closed, but it was absorbed into ZeniMax Online Studios. So they took the staff from point A and put them into point B. So yes, that studio technically closed, but the staff are still there. Now, Alpha Dog, they pitched a number of ideas and all of them were trash. The only game they made was Mighty Doom. That didn't really move the needle in terms of any form of sales. So they went. They were just a loss constantly, and there was nothing they were pitching that would make money. So they were, at the end of the day, if you're not doing any work, you go. Now, Arcane Austin, they had Redfall. That failed. And, that was partly due to the developers as well, and partly due to the CEO. It was a collective effort because the CEO decided to change the way the game was. The developers weren't happy with it. They didn't have their heart in it, but they were still told to deliver the game. They weren't professional enough, you know. But still, half of that studio, or maybe a little less than half, were still absorbed into Arcane Leon and other areas of Bethesda. So they were still safe. So the studio did close, but some of the staff was still saved. Now, the only one that was told to leave was Tango. And like I said at the beginning of the video, they had 3 games in Tokyo. They had Hi-Fi Rush and they had Evil Within, and none of them really set the world on fire. None of them really moved the needle, and you can see this by the way the gamers reacted to it. Sure, on Twitter, everyone was going crazy over it. There was more people celebrating Hi-Fi Rush than playing it. I saw people who were celebrating Hi-Fi Rush, calling it the game of the year and all this, and didn't even play it once. I mean, I don't really need to say more than that, do I?
Bro. And then here's the thing about the hardware. Sarah Bond came out and said that there is going to be another hardware. I'll be honest with you. To me, I don't know why. Why would you say they're going to make another hardware when you clearly don't care about the hardware?
Because they do care about the hardware. And I think they're starting to realize that the hardware is fundamentally connected to Game Pass sales. On top of that, they also know that cloud gaming isn't available everywhere. And not everyone wants to game on a PC for whatever reason that is. Some people are just, they do not like PCs. They work on them all day. They don't want to come home and use a PC. Simple as that. Whatever the reason is, they just don't want to game on a PC. They want to game on a home console. So there will always be a need, in my opinion, at least until 10, 15, 20 years, when the internet infrastructure is so good that consoles as a hardware itself will just vaporize and vanish and won't have a need for them because the internet connections will be so good. Everyone will be cloud gaming anyway. So in that point, things will change. But right now, there is an absolute need for console gaming. But the way that console gaming is shifting, handheld consoles are becoming more and more in demand. And if Xbox is going the way of the handheld as well, this is going to be a massive boon for them and could really help shift them, not just in console sales, but just change the shift in gears in how they're approaching. So I think there's an absolutely valid reason as to why they are focusing on hardware, developing hardware, and pushing the hardware as well.
I don't get it, but sure, they'll make another hardware, whatever. So that's gonna happen. And if she's saying there's another hardware, okay, there's another hardware, generational leap, sure, whatever. We'll see what happens when it comes out. But today, as a gamer, I turn on Xbox, I turn on Game Pass, and I still play. There's still games to play. I can still play on whatever screen that I want. Every screen is an Xbox, yes. To include PC, which is under Microsoft Windows. So yes, it's Microsoft Gaming. I don't know. Tell me exactly what I don't see. Game Pass is not sustainable right now. Who gives a what? Why do I care? Is it gonna be sustainable when Call of Duty drops on it? And if it's not, it doesn't matter because Call of Duty is still making enough money. Do they actually need Xbox? Do they actually need Game Pass to be sustainable if they got so much money coming from? I don't know. You guys let me know. DocDark1985, there's levels to this. We out. Peace.
And chat, that's the video. I think that's a pretty on point video. I hope you've liked my reaction to this. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm going to tag DocDark. I want him to check this reaction out and see what he thinks. But please, 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 do go leave him a like. Subscribe to his channel. And if you could do the same to me, that would be amazing as well. Don't forget to hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release. But, I think things have been blown out of proportion. I think people have over-exaggerated the whole situation. And I think Xbox is going to be just fine. All this, it's Microsoft Gaming and all this, it's just a bunch of old cronies looking for 15 minutes of fame and pushing their weight. That's all it is. But anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one, folks. As always, remain legend.